Ladies and gentlemen, then, please welcome Jamie Hyneman.
Welcome, class of 2016. Let's hear it. And just to get it out of the way, I apologize for blowing all that stuff up. I promise I won't do it again. I want to thank the university, President McRobbie and his staff, the trustees, the deans, the faculty, and everybody here who have been so welcoming today. I graduated from this very campus in 1981, 35 years ago. I have fond memories of my time here at Indiana University. I feel like I've come full circle. My mother worked here at the Graduate Library School, and I grew up in an apple orchard nearby in Columbus. It feels good to be home. One of my high school buddies' daughters is even graduating here today. Hi, Carolyn Hawes, where are you? I majored in Russian, and I'd often sit in the Commons with a dictionary and a novel, enjoying the hive of activity here. It was also my own special way of processing the language through the context of a story. Why Russian? Well, I used to listen to the radio station WFIU, one of the best classical music stations in the country, by the way, and I became fond of those deep Russian basses and the power and spirit of the language. It was so alien and mysterious. I never did much with the Russian in the end, but it was very formative. The exercise taught me a lot about how I learn, and it was the first time I really applied myself to my education. My younger self enjoyed sailing small boats nearby at Monroe Reservoir, and so after graduation I went on a vacation to the Caribbean to try and get a job as a crew on a large sailboat. A couple weeks after I arrived, well, I just went for it. I ended up with my own sailboat, and a few months later I had my captain's license and I was in business. I captained my own charter sailing and diving boats there for 5 years and never looked back. Eventually I moved on from taking out tourists, and so I thought carefully about what I wanted to do. This time, not because it was something I just enjoyed, but rather because I was wise enough then to decide that an important decision like that should be made methodically and with care. So I made lists of possible paths, assigned pluses and minuses, set priorities, and made the decisions that led me to where I am today, right here and now in front of you. Being methodical and diligent about making choices and decisions turned out to be a crucial and lifelong habit that has served me well. Another thing I got from my classes here at IU that served me well was from a philosophy of education course I took. It's the definition of philosophic mindedness, which is the ability to not hesitate to act while knowing that a decision you make may not actually be the right one. A key thing that underlies that is the understanding of the value of failure. If you fail, you ask why, and then you adapt. You don't want to seek failure, but when it happens, you should respect and embrace it, because that is one of the best ways you can grow and move ahead. Think things through as best you can, and then make a decision. Do your best at the attempt, but be ready to do it all over again, differently, in the event of failure. Sometimes that decision is something that has to be done in a heartbeat, and your life can depend on it. Believe me, I've got the scars to prove it. Along the way, I also noticed that it's important to keep in mind who you really are and where you're going. While you may be succeeding at something, sometimes it's not so easy to be sure that's something that you'll actually want in the end. If it isn't, then that's another kind of failure of itself. And again, you should not hesitate to make a different decision and adapt. There are lessons like this that you may not get from this or any university, so understand that no university can teach you all you need to know when you leave it, but if you've done a good job at your education, you'll have some basic tools available to help you survive along whatever path that you end up going down. Tools that will allow you to acquire knowledge as you go. The last path I ended up on put me in the public eye for 14 years and took me places that were riddled with both good and bad things. What can I say? The media is fickle. I ended up doing things and meeting people that I found fascinating, and I'm proud to have played the role I unintentionally played in encouraging young people to seek out educations in the sciences and engineering. But at the same time, the job required me to embrace, almost above all else, a compulsion to self-promote, which often caused me to feel I wasn't being true to myself. I've thought a lot about what has happened to me because in many ways it was so extraordinary, but I found myself constantly struggling with the public attention I was getting. You can't ignore it, but I also don't think it's healthy to accept it. Recently, I ran across some work of the author David Zweig, which is relevant to my feelings about life in public. He wrote a book called The Invisibles, The Power of Anonymous Work in an Age of Relentless Self-Promotion. The Invisibles is a name he has given to the masses of people in the world who do important work, but who are largely unnoticed by the public. He basically says it's okay to self-promote, but the priority should be to focus on having something worthy of promotion. We live in a world where we're judged by how many followers or likes we have instead of what we contribute to the infrastructure of the world. I believe social media and entertainment play vital roles in our lives today, but it really shouldn't obscure other priorities in our lives. I'll be 60 years old this year, and keeping my priorities straight dictates that I make the decision to travel on a different path than the one I've been on, and again, adapt. Staying true to oneself is a lifelong process that should never stop, and if you look for them, you'll never run out of new challenges to negotiate, new paths to take. As Zweig says, the evidence seemed to show that if you want to be a successful anything, just do good work. Do good work and you'll gain followers if that's what you want. Doing good work is the best use of your time. I want to do good work, and I'd like to see all of you here do good work. So when you graduates go out into the world to try and make your way, please understand that it's okay to be invisible. It's okay to be in the background. Trust that your passion is good work and apply yourself. Know that it's okay to devote yourself to things that no one outside the people at hand know about or care about. You define who you are, not other people. It may not sound very exciting on the face of it, but if there's one thing I've learned from my past, it's how deeply creative pretty much anything can be if you apply yourself to it, from science and engineering to raising a family or building a home. If you're going to do good work of any kind, it requires discipline and method along with inventiveness and experimentation. The cars we drive and the houses we live in and the food we eat represent the inspiration and dedication of millions of people who sweat and strived and obsessed over all sorts of things, from the obscure to the game-changing, to put us where we are today. These are the invisible people, the ones who make our lives here today possible. So now that you've graduated and are basking in your glory, think about giving some respect to those invisibles who helped get you here. Jamie out. Thank you.